Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Sam's33 here, and welcome to my latest Pokemon show that's almost exactly the same as all the other ones, Pocket Monsters. The reason it's called that is because it's a podcast, sort of, so it's like a show you can fit in your pocket. Get it? No, that's not funny. Can we just skip that intro? Anyone? Nah, whatever. Better than anything else I'll ever make for an intro. So, this is going to be the Plasma Blast set review, and being Pocket Monsters, I will have a co-commentator with me, and that is William Compere. Say hi, William.
Hey.
This is someone I met at Nationals. He's a big fan of my show, and he's a great guy. He got top 32 at Nationals this year and top 16 at Worlds. Is that correct?
No, top 32 at Worlds last year.
Oh, top 32 last year. This year you didn't make top cut.
Nope.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's fine.
Alright. So, that review, Plasma Blast, just came out. The scans were out a few weeks ago, but I haven't had time to look at all of them and do a review of them. So, this one is also completely unscripted, not really completely, but yeah, it's completely unscripted. All we know is what the cards we're looking at is. So, let's just get started. First Pokemon on the list we're going to look at is Masquerain, a very forgettable Pokemon, if I do say so myself. Getting a actually decent ability. Its ability is called Tool Reversal, and it says as often as you want during your turn, you can put a Pokemon tool attached to one of your Pokemon into your hand. Definitely interesting ability. I think it was also on this Miss Magius Level X a while ago, but anyway, that's irrelevant. William, what do you think about this card?
I really don't like it, to be honest. It's just kind of clunky. If you are smart enough of a player, you'd rather just play the extra tools instead of the Masquerain, or just play your tool attachment smartly so you don't have to bring it back to your hand.
Yeah, that's, in a sense, that's a good way to look at it. But, I mean, there are a lot of very situational tools in this format, like, for example, Experience Share. You don't want that on your active Pokemon or something like that. So after it goes to the bench, or goes back, once you send it up to attack, you can take it off and put it on another bench Pokemon.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
I just feel like you'd rather the other spots, it's something that just happens with the XP share, but you'd rather dedicate those slots to other things that would help your matchups better.
Yeah. A very interesting ability. I could see this opening up a lot of different interesting decks in the future, but right now, I mean, yeah, there's not too many tools that you'd want to use all in the same deck that you want to constantly swap out, so I don't know. We'll see how this card fares in the future.
Yep.
Next on our list, we have Tropius. Sorry for anyone who's thinking we're going to look at Crydaily, but frankly, it's just plain old bad.
Yep.
Just to be frank. So Tropius is a basic Pokemon. Non-EX, of course. It has 100 HP. Its first attack per turn for 1 Grass Energy. It does 10 damage, and you draw until you have 6 cards in your hand. Its second attack, Energy Press, costs an extra colorless energy. It does 20 damage plus 20 more for each energy on the defending Pokemon. And it also has a lightning weakness, which will be a problem for Tornadus knocking out on the first turn. Or Tornadus, Thundurus.
Yeah.
Or any time, really. So, what do you think about this card?
I think it's pretty good in Ginsect Virizion, maybe a one of, but it's not. I don't really like the first attack. I mean, it can be okay, but the second attack is really good for creating the 7 prize situation. Where they have to kill a Tropius before they kill your last EX. They're down to 1 prize, and all you have left on your field is EXs. And it can be really good versus Blastoise, or just even Plasma, for example. You can just hit high numbers and just hope set up knockouts or just whatever.
Yeah, with something like that Genesect Virizion deck that needs limited energy attachments, or has limited energy attachments, devoting 2 to a low HP Pokemon is a little bit of a iffy thing.
Yeah, it is.
But for example,
I feel if you can just attach and just Chorus Machine and just drop it in one turn, then you'd be fine.
Well, it's not a Plasma Pokemon, is the problem. You need a Plasma Badge for that.
Well, no, you do play Plasma Badge for Virizion EX already.
Some players do play the Plasma Badge. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. But yeah, it does get knocked out fairly easily, and you want your energy to be on the Pokemon that are going to survive and keep your energy in as long a use as possible.
Yeah, that's the only problem with this deck. There's not many with a Virizion Ginsect deck. There's not many non-EX grass Pokemon that are basics that are that good.
There aren't too many options, but Tropius is one of those better options. There are a lot of high energy using Pokemon in the format, like Darkrai does straight 80, Kyurem does 80, of course Keldeo, it can hit really high numbers on that if it
just one-shots it.
If it has, like, what, 4 energy? Yeah.
If it has 3 at one-shots. No, if it has 4 at one-shots.
Yeah, 3 in a laser or 4 at one-shots.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the better non-EX grass Pokemon in the format. So, yeah, definitely look out for this card as a tech, but not really as a main attacker. Definitely not. Next up, we have the regular Genesect from this set. This one also has 100 HP. It's another non-EX attacker. And 2 attacks. First one is Call for Family, which is search your deck for 2 basic grass Pokemon and put them on your bench. Second attack is Jet Impact for 2 grass and a colorless. It does 80 damage, and you flip, and if heads, you get do an extra 20 damage. William, what do you think about this card?
Like, the Tropius and the Genesect are, like, really, like, support Pokemon to, like, help you get set up or whatever. But I honestly think the Tropius is better than Genesect just for the fact that it takes less energy, and, like, it has, like, almost, like, unlimited, if you will, like, damage cap. But Genesect, hits for 8, and you flip for the extra 20. But, I mean, I guess it's not that bad if you go ahead and use Megalocan on Genesect EX and follow it up with a Jet Impact. But it's just the heavy energy cost is the problem.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be... I mean, 2 was a problem with Tropius, but 3 is almost ridiculous.
Yeah.
Especially with such a
low HP, yeah, it's the only problem.
Attack, especially with a deck like Virizion Genesect that doesn't need constant bench Pokemon and stuff like that. So, Genesect is just a little interesting card that maybe has a more set damage output than something like Tropius, or maybe even the old school Virizion from Noble Victories. But, yeah, it's a little too much energy for most people's taste.
Yep.
Next, we have Suicune, the only water Pokemon we're going to look at that isn't an EX. This one's got 100 HP, and it has the Safeguard ability, the same one Sigilyph has, which prevents it from being hit by EX Pokemon. And its attack is fairly simple: 1 water, 2 colorless, it does 70. This card, I'm going to go first on this one because I haven't gone first yet. I think of course, Sigilyph already has the same ability, and its attack the attacks are very similar. For example, Sigilyph does 50 plus the same amount of, 50 plus the amount of energy on the defending Pokemon.
50 plus 10 to be exact.
Yeah, what did I say again?
You said 50 plus for each energy.
50. Okay, that's a little ridiculous. No, it's not that good. It's 50 plus 10 for each energy on the defending Pokemon. Suicune is just a straight 70, so Sigilyph can vary in its damage outputs, while Suicune is a constant 70. And it also has a higher retreat cost than Sigilyph, but it does also have a higher HP, which is especially good since a Hypnotoxic Laser can, hit the Sigilyph 3 turns in a row with a Verbank, while Suicune it takes 4. And also, a lot of Pokemon in this format do damage in multiples of 30, like Kyurem's Frost Spear, lasers, of course, Darkrai's Bench Knight Spear damage. Not that it's going to be hitting Suicune, but yeah. What do you think about it, William?
To be honest, I think they're both too close to really make a call. But I mean, versus certain decks let's see, Blastoise, you'd prefer the Sigilyph because of all the damage on the Keldeos. I mean, all the energy on the Keldeos and Blastoise. Well, they'd be attacking with Blastoise, so you'd prefer Sigilyph. But honestly, I think it's just really close, almost too close to call.
Yeah, but the Safeguard ability is always good as usual. Sigilyph was reprinted in our last set, so these 2 are going to be in the format always at the same time. So it really depends on the metagame at the time. If it's a lot of grass Pokemon with Tropius and stuff like that, then you don't want to play Suicune. But if, for example, people start teching in Meloettas to counter Sigilyph or something, then Suicune might be the better choice.
Well, I doubt people teching Meloetta.
Yeah, but there was a period where people teched in Meloetta.
Yeah, that was that was a while ago.
That was a while ago, back when Quad Sigilyph won regionals in some place, South Asia, something like
I think
that.
we're starting to get off track.
And yeah, you're right. Sorry. Yeah, Suicune, very similar to Sigilyph, but equally as good, if not better or worse. Next up, we have Drifblim, one of the more hyped cards, not really hyped, but more talked about cards in the set. It has 100 HP, a dark weakness, which may or may not be a good thing depending on depending on a few things about what the dark, if it's replacing Darkrai or maybe Plasma with an Absol, it's kind of a bad weakness, but there are definitely worse weaknesses. Its ability, Drifting Balloon, says this Pokemon's attacks cost 1 less Carlos energy for each of your opponent's Team Plasma Pokemon in play, which, you know, with all the Team Plasma Pokemon, that's a good ability. And the Derail, its next attack, Derail, for 3 Carlos energy, which will be reduced by Drifting Balloon's effect, does 70 damage, and you discard a special energy attached to the defending Pokemon. William.
Well, like you said, like the Absol and Darkrai can be a problem, but like honestly, I feel like you just rather play like Enhanced Hammers versus Plasma if you're trying to counter Plasma, because like number one, it's like you can't knock out an Enhanced Hammer. Number two, like I guess no energy for 70 damage can be okay, but you just discard 1 energy. When like you would like if you play Drifblim, you're probably not gonna play Enhanced Hammers. So why not like instead of playing like a 1/1 Drifblim, like a 2/1, just play like 2 or 3 Enhanced Hammers. So you can like play 2 at one time.
Yeah, but of course that is a good point. But the benefits of Drifblim are that it's a little, for example, you can use it more than a couple times. So 100 HP is a decent number. They're not going to be knocking that out in one hit with much other than Kyurem, something like that.
Genesect, let's see here. There's Genesect.
Well, I mean,
there is
cards you would use it against. You're not going to use it against Genesect decks. You're just going to use it against Plasma. Really.
Well, like Darkrai can just that's what I'm saying. It's just like a dead card.
Yeah,
and
right.
Like a bunch of matchups.
It's only useful in against the Plasma matchup.
I'd rather just play Silver Mirror than play Drifblim, to be honest.
That's another point. But, you know, it's Plasma deck doesn't have the best time drawing energy. It's you know, it doesn't run that many special energy
it runs like
colored energy.
12 special energies.
I mean, there's 8 good ones. Plasmas don't even count, in my opinion. Like, you don't want to touch those anywhere. But anyway.
You just want to Chorus Machine those.
Yeah. So, you know, 70 is also not a bad number. 3 shots EXs and 2 shots Kyurem.
Well, they'll just one-shot you, or like 1 or 2 shot you, and you've like 3-shot them.
Yeah, but
it's just not a good trade-off.
And with no energy, there is always the possibility of Max Potion coming into play for strong plays. And, you know, this discarding special, of course, that is always good, as opposed to a lot of other effects you could have on a card. Drifblim is definitely one of the better evolutions in our format, and it complements the other Drifblim from Dragon's Exalted, which does 50 times the number of special energy in your opponent's discard.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Discard them with this, and then you use its attack. I don't even know.
The one problem is you can only use a 2/2 split, so it's gonna be really. You can have a hard time getting them out at the same.
Yeah, definitely not a deck on its own, but Drifblim could be an interesting little tech in a lot of decks in the future.
Yes.
Next on our list, we have the trio of Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf, back in non-EX form as opposed to all the other legendaries that get these big shiny EX cards. And then there's this rare Uxie and this rare Azelf and this Hollow Mesprit for some reason. But, you know, anyway. None of these cards are... There's some interesting things with these cards, but most of them are kind of iffy. Uxie's attack does... You can place 3 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon anywhere you want for a Psychic. Mesprit's ability is, if you have both Uxie and Azelf in play, each of your Pokemon have no weakness, which this is the only Pokemon in the format that can do that. And then there is Azelf, which in my opinion is the better of the 3, which allows you to move.
Oh yeah, that card's so good. Like, well, you know, we talk about Drifblim, but Azelf is way better than Drifblim. You know, you can just like side jam all their special energies to like a Deoxys EX. and like they can't get it off.
I haven't exactly explained it. For those of you who don't know or don't feel like reading or listening to this as a podcast, Azelf for 3 energy lets you move as many special energy on your opponent's Pokemon to any of their other Pokemon wherever you want. Continue.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, and then you could like say, then use Sigilyph to catch up that Deoxys, and then you can hit it for weakness and stuff and just kill it.
Yeah, Azelf is a very interesting card, being able to move special energy. Of course, another card in the set that counters Plasma, so there's like 50 of those or something, and there's even more later on. But that is 3 energy you have to get onto an Azelf, which is very difficult.
And it's just a Psychic and a double colorless. Like, people look at it as 3, but I mean, it's not extremely difficult to do.
Yeah, it is. I mean, even 2 energy to put on a 60 HP Psychic Weak Pokemon is a risky thing to do.
Yeah.
And you might have to play it in a deck with some kind of energy acceleration to be able to get it out in one turn, because they can easily react to capturing the Azelf, and your plan is kind of ruined, and your energy attachment is gone. But there are, of course, any way to power up Azelf in one turn and be able to you can basically just almost get rid of all their energy, in a sense. Just, why would they want all these blends and plasmas and junk on this one Deoxys, and then you just kill that and all their energy's gone. But yeah, Azelf.
Well, you'd only be moving 3 energies, usually because of like either 3 or 2 on a Kyurem, and like after they attack with a Lugia, they'd have 3, and then a Thundurus will just have 1. So the maximum you'll probably be moving is 3.
Yeah, around there. But yeah, still a very good. Even if they have if you're very far behind and they have 2 Kyurems power up, you move all those energy, and then they really have nothing. So yeah, Azelf, definitely one of the more interesting cards. Mesper and Nuxie, we don't really care about them. We should just not talk about them.
Yeah.
Azelf is one you should be talking about, because it is a card you are going to be seeing and you should be worrying about if you're playing Plasma.
I'm not so sure about worrying. Just be thinking of the things that people can do to counter Plasma. Since in this set they're trying to degrade, they're trying to weaken Plasma, so you just gotta try to figure out how to play against it.
Yeah, but if the opponent drops the Azelf and side jam, you're gonna have to be prepared for this somehow. Otherwise, you could be stuck for a few turns.
Yeah. You just have to know when to drop it, because if you drop it and then just try to attach manually, they can just catch up the Azelf and then just have 3 Deoxys on the bench, or just Verbank Laser, Frost Spear, knock out the Azelf and 30 to something on the bench.
Yeah. But still a good card.
Yeah.
Next on our list is Sigilyph. Not
Yes.
the Sigilyph we were talking about earlier, but this is a different one. This is a even more fun card than the original Sigilyph. This one allows you to have 4 tool cards attached to Sigilyph, which is one of the most hilarious and interesting abilities we've had in a while.
Yes.
So, what do you want to say about this card, Will?
You could it's just insane. You can drop 3 Rocky helmets and then a Rock Guard on it, and you can use the tool drop Trubbish to, it does 20. Hold on a second. I think it does 20 plus
Yeah, it does 20 times the number of tools both players have in play.
Yeah, exactly. So you can just play just 4 toolbox Sigilyph and 2 tool drop Trubbish, and then you can just do that. But I think there's better options. It can be difficult to get on if you don't know how to play against it, or if you don't play Tool Scrappers or something. But I think people aren't going to want to attack in it, but the only way you can beat it is if you take that damage and attack into it.
Yeah, there are. As you said, the tool drop Trubbish would be the offensive way to play Sigilyph, of just you attach a bunch of tools. You could even Plasma Badge, Colress Machine.
Yeah, you'd probably play something 20 tools or something. Rock Guards, EV Lights, and Rocky Helmet
or something.
EV Lights. You can play what's it called? Silver Bangle, Silver Mirror, just basically toolbox deck.
Yeah, totally.
That's hence the ability name.
Yeah, totally tech out your deck with all these tools for every
Yeah, just
situation.
counter everything. Yeah.
Maybe even that Mass Screen we talked about earlier in the deck.
Yeah.
Would probably be its best use. Or I could even see this card being a crazy tank, maybe put 4 Eviolite on it,
Yeah.
Resine in play, and just kind of wall for a while. That would be pretty funny.
The Masquerades only works with Sigilyph, but I'm not sure if like that's probably the best combo. Like I don't know, but
Yeah,
I think this definitely has a lot of potential though. And you can even like take in the safeguard sigilif as well. Like put like 3 toolbox, 1 safeguard or whatever.
yeah, with all the different tools in this format, there are a lot of different ways to play Sigilyph. There are a lot of scary things this 90 HP definite damage doing Pokemon could do. Like this thing could one-shot your EX with a bunch of bangles on it or something.
Yep.
Just card you it is in a sense a toolbox that could pull anything out to surprise you.
Yep.
Next, we're going to skip Machamp, even though he's my favorite Pokemon. I'm sorry, Machamp, you're just too bad. The real next card we're talking about is Sock.
Oh, my goodness. This card is so amazing versus, like, Plasma.
You want to read off
like,
what it? You want to read off its
sure.
full attack?
Oh, basically, Sock is a 90 HP Pokemon with ×2 weaknesses, Psychic, and 1 Retreat. And for a colorless energy, you can do Kick of Righteousness for 10 plus damage. And if the defending Pokemon's a Team Plasma Pokemon, the attack does 40 more damage.
Yep.
So basically, if they have a Thundurus active and you go first, or they just, or just whatever, they just have a Thundurus sitting there, you can just, have the colorless, have a Silver Bangle on it, which we'll get to that card later, and play a Hypnotoxic Laser, and it's an automatic knockout. Because 10 plus 40 is 50, plus 30 from Silver Bangle is 80, times 2 is 160, plus the laser is 170 for knockout.
Yeah. Of course, there are a lot of, even, like, for example, Absol, this just does enough to knock out an Absol in one shot.
Just like one shot that's just like, okay, knock you out. Like, I could see this card being like a one of, and like decks trying to counter, like, decks that have like a bad matchup versus Plasma. I could definitely see you teching that. Or even in your own Plasma deck, since Plasma may start playing Silver Bangle instead. You can play this for the mirror match.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is, very interesting card. Turn 1, 50 damage. That's a lot, even by this standards.
And you can donk Thunduruses. I mean, you can donk EXs, which is totally unheard of.
I mean, yeah, it's totally unheard of. This card, while it is kind of situational, they have to start with Thundurus. They can't start with something else, but still, even just like 80 on the axis with this and a Silver Bangle, turn 1, that is a very powerful start. But, of course, it is kind of a dead card against other matchups. But, like a lot of other cards in the set, it's very good against Plasma decks. And there are a lot of things you can just hit for 50. And 50 is a, respectable number. Can set you up for a lot of knockouts. And 1 energy, Carless, can fit into almost any deck, really. It's definitely one of the cards in this set that is good, for lack of a better term.
Yep.
Anything else you want to say about that one?
What?
Nothing else you want to say about that one?
About Sock?
Yeah.
Not really. It's just like a really good card, and I like it a lot. I like the potential that all these tech cards that they're making, it's going to make players really think outside the box and try to cram in, those 1 or 2 cards to help against your worst matchup. It's definitely going to make the formats a lot more skilled on, like, knowing, kind of like back in, like, 2010 or whatever, when you had all these options, and there's so many, like, 1 or 2 of tech cards in your decks, like, for other matchups or for mirror match or whatever. We're definitely going to see a lot more skill come into the format.
Definitely. Next up, we're skipping, like, 2 or 3 types here. I forget 2. It's 2. To go straight to Haxorus, one of the several hilarious cards in the set.
Strike of the Champion is so good.
Strike of the Champion, that is quite the name, I must say. Its first attack is pretty standard. It does 40 damage times the number of metal energy on Haxorus. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Strike of the Champion, which costs 1 fighting, 1 metal. And if the defending Pokemon is a Team Plasma Pokemon, it is knocked out. And if it's a different...
I pretty much think that this Haxorus is basically the Pokemon form of Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
No joke. Like, even the Sock. Like, these Pokemon are starting to intimidate Rocky Balboa.
If Rocky Balboa was a Plasma Pokemon, he would not be able to strike.
Yeah.
He would not be able to beat strike up the champion.
I honestly think that there's better things to counter. Like I said, there, these are cards to help you counter like plasma and just other decks in general. But I just think Sock is just like a better option. Like you can play, like 3 Socks instead of playing like a 2-1-2 Haxorus and having to play Candies or whatever. It's much more consistent, and like against Plasma, they can see it coming and they can try to knock out your Axews and Fractures or whatever. So I honestly think it'd be better to play like 2 or 3 of the Sock instead. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this card, of course, it being a stage 2, needing 2 energy is a very, you need a lot of devotion to set up something like this.
No, you could just have blend energies, too.
It doesn't matter what, I mean, yeah, there are 2. The 2 blend energy is an option, but for the most part, those are very awkward energy counts, or energy costs.
Yeah.
Other than them sharing the blend energy.
And nowadays, it's easy to see stuff coming, and they can very easily knock it out with like the high damage output of stuff these days. You need to drop 2 of them at one time, and that can be hard to do.
Yeah.
Unless if you're playing a really thick line of it.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine this card being good, but it is a hilarious thought of just one-shotting all those plasma Pokemon.
Yep. It's basically like a Luxray. I mean, take out Machamp, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Basically is what it is. I don't know why I said Luxray.
Very similar to take out Machamp in a lot of ways, including the fact that it can do 1 for 40. 1 for 40. That's a similarity. But if it is hard to take out after it gets... If you manage to set up this card, it will do some serious damage against Plasma. There's not much that can knock it out in one hit.
Well, I mean, like, Plasma, they can, like, if you are, like, playing smart, you can see this coming, and you can set up multiple Curums. So they will knock out one, then you'll send up your other Curum and just, Blizzard Burn with like 2 Deoxys in play, or 1 Deoxys and a laser, or just Laser Bank, whatever, and you just kill it.
Yeah.
And then your chances of setting up another one are pretty bad, because, like, if you're going to play it, you're not going to play, like, a 3-2-3 line, probably.
Yeah.
Probably like a 101 or a 111 or a 222, something like that.
Yeah. Just thought if we mention this card because it is hilarious, and it is something that players playing Plasma would have to worry about if it, for some chance, pops up and starts knocking out things in one hit.
Yeah. And, like, I could see it doing good in Battle Roads, but, like, big tournaments, no.
Yeah, definitely not. Next on our list, we have Porygon Z.
Yep, Kling Kling is back. The black and white one's been replaced
By,
Porygon.
whatever this is. This is not, I wouldn't say it's a replacement for Kling Klang. I mean,
But, like, it's pretty good, though. Like, you
Kling
can...
already has a Hydreigon anyway.
Well, like, I guess, like, the energy shifting, Kling Kling is, his strengths have rubbed off on other Pokemon, namely Hydreigon and Porygon Z.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Porygon Z allows you to move your plasma energy around as much as you want during your turn, which, with all these plasma energy in the format, it is a very interesting little card, but that is only 4 energy you're going to be moving around, and, like, it's hard, like, as I said earlier, that you don't want to use plasma energy as an attachment. There's not much plasma Pokemon that actually use plasma energy for much other than Pulse Machine or whatever. Like,
I could see, like, you could go in Turbo, like, DCE double Colorless Machine, because, like, the Pokemon that will go with Porygon Z will be like some of the Pokemon that are coming up, or even Tornado CX that, came out last set.
Yeah.
Or Lugia EX, And you can play Thundurus to get them back once they're gone. And you can play Deoxys too, so...
Yeah, for those decks, there's a lot of decks that use, like, Colorless Machines and double Colorless to just go, like, super fast rush with Tornadus or Lugia. And Porygon could be an interesting little thing to go along with those cards. But you wouldn't want to put this in a standard Plasma deck, obviously.
No.
Too much space,
No. Yeah.
very little effort.
Yeah, you'd have to change around a lot of things. Like you probably wouldn't play Kyurem. You play like a low Deoxys count, maybe even 0.
Yeah.
You'd have to switch around a lot of things. You wouldn't be able to go aggro as much.
Yeah, one of the cards that always goes along with these energy moving cards is Max Potion, which allows you to heal.
Yep. Like you could play.
Pokemon with no energy.
Yeah. Like
So,
2, 3, or 4 max potions. Probably more like 3.
yeah, with cards like Tornado CX that you pretty much lose if your 4 plasma energy go down, this would be a good card to have. You just move it off and Max Potion, move them back on, and hit for 180 again.
Yep.
But,
Well, then again, you can use Silver Mirror or Enhanced Hammer, and like that can kind of just. We'll get to Silver Mirror a little bit later on, but like Enhanced Hammer mainly can mess up your plans.
yeah.
At least for Thunderous, yeah.
There's always been a lot of flaws with using just plasma energy, and you can really only use this with just plasma energy. Like, you can't really use this with Max Potion and then also throw in your blend energy or prisms or whatever, because those will just get Max Potioned off.
Yep.
And it's like playing a deck with 4 energy. It's not something you want to do. Basically.
Yeah.
That is the last of the standard Pokemon of the set. We'll get to the EXs after we finish the trainers. The first trainer in the line on the set numbers is Caitlin, a supporter, 1 of 2. This allows you to take as many cards from your hand and put them on the bottom of your deck, and then draw that many cards. Kind of reminds me of the old school Claydol, where you put 2 cards, like 1 or 2 cards on the bottom of your deck, and then you draw 6, or up until you have 6.
Yep.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
I like this card actually. Like, they're Pokemon's starting to, make cards where you don't have to just dump your hand, like the traditional Juniper. Like you want the rare candy Stoys, but, you don't have the Skyla or whatever. Skyla helped with that, but now we have Caitlin for even more reinforcement, like, used to be players would play Sharon because they wouldn't want to have to Juniper away, like, say, if they want, like, a dark energy and a catcher, they don't have to Juniper away the dark in hope of, or Juniper away, I don't know, like, just, like those combos that you need to get off. You need both of them in your hand, or, like, 3 of them in your hand.
Yeah, you need, like, for example, Ultra Ball Dark Energy. You have the Ultra Ball but no Dark, so you play Caitlin, put some cards on the bottom of your deck, and then hope to draw the Dark Energy.
It could be good for, like, your opening hand, like, if it's, like, really clunky with, like, a bunch of energies or a bunch of Pokemon.
Yeah. I've had too many hands that are, like, 4 catcher or, like, 5 energy or something ridiculous like that, where you really just have too much of one thing, and then you just use Caitlin and put them on the bottom of your deck. You put those back in your deck so you can draw them later. And that's another point I want to get to, is that being this card, instead of shuffling them into your deck, they go on the bottom. So there's
you can use them with the fossil Pokemon.
Yeah, that is another point. But it's impossible to draw those cards again unless you draw a different copy of the card. So, like, if, for example, when you use, like, N or something, and then you're like, I just drew this exact same hand, I hate this, that's not going to happen with Caitlin because you're shuffling, or you're putting them on the bottom.
Yeah, so you just totally eliminate the chance of you drawing those cards that you didn't want.
Yeah, or if you play very little, or you could play, like, barely any shuffling cards, so cards you really want on the bottom of your deck all the time, like 1 catcher, so when you Juniper, you're going to get that, like, it's on the bottom of your deck. Something interesting like that. That's probably not going to happen, but it
would have to be really late game, though.
Yeah. Okay, there's a lot of interesting little plays you could have with Caitlin, but honestly, I don't see this card being like one of the staple supporters. Like, it's like kind of like.
Oh, like in Blastoise, and it's really good in Blastoise. Like you have Caitlin and Skyla, which are amazing. Caitlin, Skyla, and Beast. Like that's a really consistent engine. It's like almost every time you'll have that turn 2 Blastoise.
Yeah. The thing is, like, Caitlin is like the mirror version of Bianca. With Caitlin, you have a bunch of dead cards in your hand, you draw more cards. With Bianca, you don't have very many dead cards, you draw more cards. So
I would rather more consistency, I feel like Caitlin does a better job of that than Bianca, because Bianca, you have to have a low hand size. I mean, yeah, it's a good late game, but I feel like Caitlin would be like a 1-of, kind of like Chorus used to be. But, like, I feel like Caitlin maybe does, like, a 1-of in every deck.
Yeah.
For those times where your hand's just really dead.
it's definitely not going to join the ranks of Juniper and N as four
Nope.
of in every deck, but a one of in several decks is where I put this card in.
Yeah. Like I said again, techs.
Yeah.
That's what's starting to come to. You gotta decide what tech cards you want.
It's useful in a few situations, but not something you want in your hand every first turn or something like that. Glad we're getting more good, useful supporters, obviously.
Yeah.
Always a good thing.
Like, I'm glad they're finally doing this because, now we got Bianca, we have Sharon, we have N, Juniper, Getsus, Chorus. We have Caitlyn now. Skyla, yeah. I mean, we have so many supporters now. We're not just stuck to, at the beginning of last year's format when we just had Juniper, N, Sharon, and Bianca and random receiver. That just was not enough because most people would just play, Juniper, N, and like Sharon and random receiver.
Yeah. Definitely a good step in the direction. Good. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Pokemon's finally starting to clean the mess up that they made this past year.
Yeah. All right. Next up in our repertoire of trainer cards is Iris, another supporter, and the last one. This one said this is not one of those consistency supporters. It's one of those.
I do not like this card at all, actually.
Yeah, it's one of those different effect cards. It says during this turn, your Pokemon's attacks do 10 more damage to the active Pokemon for each prize card your opponent has taken. And of course, the supporters. No one likes having these cards when they want to draw a supporter. You can't use this after a draw supporter. You can't use a draw supporter in the same turn unless you use Manga Zone for some reason. But
yeah,
this is more situational than most of those other cards. Like, for example, let's compare it to something like Silent. Silent always does the same thing. It searches for 3 energy.
Even though it's like a really bad card, except if you want to play it in like a one-of and Blastoise, which I don't really recommend.
Some people do that, and it always does that. It's good it's situational, but it's not.
But actually furthers your board state.
Yeah. Iris, for example, is
hate this card.
Way more situational than something like Silent, because
it's the epitome of situational.
Yeah, your opponent has to have taken a lot of prize cards,
which
this will become useful.
Yeah, which is something I really dislike. I don't want to play cards and hoping my opponent takes a lot of prizes. I want to play a deck and say, okay, I'm going to try to shut you down, and I don't want you to take a lot of prizes. I feel like Iris is basically is basically like saying, instead of putting yourself in the best position to win, you're trying to put yourself in the best position to not lose.
That's a good way of putting it.
If that makes any sense at all.
That makes sense, yeah. I understand. Like, I don't know how to explain. Yeah, I understand it. I think people understand it. It's just hard to explain in a different way. A simpler term. But yeah. This, damage boosting is always a good thing. Like, Hypnotoxic Laser was, of course, one of the best cards.
Yeah.
Butts Power was good when Hypnotoxic Laser wasn't there. But when you factor in supporters and drawing prizes and all this stuff, it's just a mess and not a card that's really going to be played in many decks.
Nope. Moving on, we have... did you want to say anything about Iris?
We just talked about that one.
I know, but did you want to say anything else?
No, not really.
Okay.
Next up... Pokemon? Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Chatot.
Next... Oh, you want to talk about Chatot?
Sure. You had some stuff you wanted to say about it. Why don't you
tell
us about this card?
I think this card is actually something that can be a really good counter for, the toolbox, Sigilif, or, let's see, like Garbodor, if your deck has trouble versus Garbodor.
This card, of course, has a 1 energy attack that lets you discard all the tools attached to your opponent's Pokemon. Continue.
Now, like in some decks, if you feel like you have trouble versus decks that play a lot of tools, or you just feel like you don't want to play Tool Scrapper, or you just can't, find the room and you want to play multiples of it, you can just, fit in Chatot or whatever. And actually, Tone Deaf is not, like you can take it in Plasma. And then, say, for some odd reason, you want to use Tone Deaf. And you can do 20 damage, 3 Deoxys in play, that's 50. Then, if you play Verbank Laser, that's 80.
Yeah.
Even though it sounds pretty bad, it's not it's just something that, you can think about.
It's something, it's a clutch attack. It's not something that's always going to be helpful, but when it is helpful, it will definitely be helpful in
Yes.
a situation. But anyway, back to misinformation. This is it's an alright attack. Garbodor and Toolbox Sigilyph are its two targets, of course. But the one problem with this card is Silver Mirror, which is the card we'll be talking about later. And for those of you who know what it does, this card does not actually affect Silver Mirror.
Yeah, it doesn't get rid of Silver Mirror, because Silver Mirror states that if the card's attached to a non-EX, then any effects of attacks done to it by Plasma Pokemon are just totally ignored. Effects and damage.
Yeah, and Chatot is a Plasma Pokemon. So
and the misinformation is an effect.
Yeah. So you think Silver Mirror is, of course, a good card, and it's one of the main reasons you want to play Tool Scrapper, cards that discard tools, in a Plasma deck, and Chatot just does not help you with that at all.
Nope.
And that is a big problem, where you would just play Tool Scrapper, or maybe Dowsing Machine, or more Tool Scrapper instead. But against those other things, it is good, it is effective, but those are not very popular decks. Garbodor and Toolbox Sigilyph are underplayed. I mean, Garbodor Darkrai is kind of a thing now. Did well at Worlds and Masters, and did well at Nationals with seniors in the U.S. But
did you say it won Worlds?
No, I said it did well in Worlds.
Yeah. Farthest it got was top 4 in Masters and top 8 in Masters.
I didn't even remember it getting a top 4.
It did. It was Dustin Zimmerman playing Darkrai Garbodor. Shout out to Dustin Zimmerman.
Right. And of course, yeah, Chatot. Good against those. One of those cards. It's like, hey, I know Garbodor's not popular, but when he is, I'm gonna be there, and you're gonna want me. Just keep me around.
Yep. Moving on to Reversal Trigger.
Yep. Back to the trainer.
It's basically a tool card that says when the Team Plasma Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, search your deck for a card and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck afterwards. Basically, this card is a free computer search without any discarding.
Basically.
Basically. So after your Pokemon's knocked out, basically you can get back into the game if you're having trouble. Get the card to help you get yourself back into the game.
Yeah.
Like if you attach it to a Pokemon and you're drawing really dead, you can just get a supporter, get yourself back in the game.
Yeah. On one hand, the time you're most vulnerable is when your Pokemon gets knocked out. So
exactly. So you can search for that one card or like a supporter or something to, keep you in the game.
Yeah, when your Pokemon with energy gets knocked out, you can get another Pokemon or another whatever you need because the thing you've been using to attack is now dead and you need something new to attack with. So, of course, Reversal Trigger is good in that part. The bad part is, of course, it is a tool card. First of all, or not, that's one of the problems, because it can be discarded by Tool Scrapper, which is going to rise in popularity.
Yeah, by a lot, because, tools are becoming very dominant now.
Yeah. Another problem is, of course, how popular Poison is in this format with Hypnotoxic Laser. That does not activate Reversal Trigger because it's
but Ginsect Virizian's rising in popularity, so Laser will not be played anymore.
Some kind of system that uses the new Virizian EX, which we'll talk about later, basically prevents special conditions. With this card, that kind of engine would actually be really good in my opinion, but there aren't too many decks. I mean, of course, there's the Genesect EX, but that wants the G-Booster on a lot of the time. But
yeah.
Reversal Trigger is, I think, it's one of those cards that will kind of depend on the meta game.
Yes.
So when Tool Scrapper goes down in playability, Reversal Trigger will be a very good card and will be able to...
Now, whenever tools are there, Tool Scrappers will be there.
Yeah, well, definitely, yeah. Good point. It's going to provide very, very good consistency, especially with something Virizian EX. But while Tool Scrapper's around and kicking this card...
Well, it's really good in decks that play Virizian EX. If you play Virizian EX, then you'll be fine, and you can play this card. Drop it on your Ginsect EX, for example. Since, the Virizian Ginsect deck can have trouble after you get knocked out, the Reversal Trigger can easily get you back into the game and keep swinging with 100 damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those cards that will depend on the metagame. Yeah, basically, that's it. Interesting card, but not for now.
Yeah.
Later, maybe.
Well, maybe now, but like probably
Yeah.
not though. Moving on, we have Silver Bangle, which is a tool card, and if it's attached to a non-EX, the attack does 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon EX. So basically, this will be getting rid of. People will be playing this instead of Verbank Laser, especially since Virizion Genesect is coming in, which makes Verbank Laser totally obsolete. And the fact of the matter is that, usually you play 2 Verbank and 4 lasers. So instead of doing that, you can play 4 Silver Bangle, and there, right there, you've made 2 spots for your list.
Mm-hmm. It's more cost efficient than Verbank Laser, but is of
Exactly.
course more.
So it's always going to be that 30 damage.
Yeah, it's more, but unlike, of course, Hypnotoxic Laser is more of an all-around good against most things. Silver Bangle is more of a matchup-based card. It's only really better against decks with Virizion EX. Against pretty much every other deck, the Hypnotoxic Laser is better because.
Well, I wouldn't jump to conclusions about saying that because Verbank Laser, is good, but you're not just gonna play down a laser if there's no Verbank in play, and it's not gonna really benefit you. But Silver Bangle, you drop it and it's gonna be there. You don't shuffle it back in and then not draw it. You drop it down, and it's gonna be there.
Yeah. For example, one of the big dilemmas of this format is with catcher and laser. If, for example, you have a laser first and then not a catcher, you would play it. You would hit the catcher later on, but not the laser, so you couldn't hit the Pokemon on the bench you wanted to hit with the laser because it wasn't active at the time. But with Silver Bangle, that problem is fixed. But of course, it only works against EX Pokemon, and it only works on non-EXs. Those are the 2 big factors of Silver Bangle.
But the thing is, I honestly feel like this card would be really good in Plasma. Because if you think about it, the non-EXs pretty much already one-shot the non-EXs. Because non-EXs really only go up to 130 HP. So basically, the non-EXs aren't the problem, it's the EXs. And Silver Bangle makes your Plasma deck really fast in the fact that you can, instead of having to, have, Verbank Laser, Triple Deoxys, basically it cuts down on your card count by 1 that you have to, do. Basically, instead of playing just a laser, not getting the Verbank, you just have the Silver Bangle instead of the laser, and you're increasing your damage turn 1 by 20. So you have, your regular Frost Spear with Verbank Laser, Triple Deoxys, that's 90. But then, Frost Spear with a Silver Bangle and 3 Deoxys, that's 90 as well.
Mm-hmm. There definitely are a lot of pros and cons of Silver Bangle versus Hypnotoxic Laser, and some decks might even play both to boost their power by.
Yeah, that's if you can fit both, higher power to you. But honestly, it's going to be really difficult to fit both in there.
Yeah, both are very list-consuming strategies, but they both are very effective, and separate or together, they are both very powerful.
Something to add is that with Silver Bangle, how Plasma will have those turns your opponent will have 180 HP EX active, and then you have 3 Deoxys on the bench and Verbank in play. You play a laser, and you Blizzard Burn the active EX for 180. Now, you can just do that whenever all you have to do is have 3 Deoxys on the bench and have a Silver Bangle attached, and then just Blizzard Burn. It's an automatic knockout instead of having the Verbank and having to draw into the laser, plus the Stadium War that can be going on with other stadiums.
It's definitely one of those things you just kind of have to test and see what happens.
Yes. But my personal opinion, Silver Bangle is better.
It's not really something you can just theorize on the spot in a video, but it's one.
Well, I've done some testing, and I'll tell you the truth. I honestly feel like Silver Bangle is going to edge out just a little bit than Verbank Laser. Number 1, it adds consistency, because that adds space for your deck, and that's always something people want. They want those extra spots, for those techs that are coming out now. Or just more supporters, to add Caitlyn or whatever.
Alright, so now on to the next trainer in the set, which will be Silver Mirror.
Yes.
This is almost the counterpart of Silver Bangle in a lot of ways.
Yep. Basically,
of attack, including damage done to this Pokemon by this card attached to. Wait, no. Let me read that again. Prevent all attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon. Done to the Pokemon this card is attached to, excluding Pokemon EX by your opponent's Team Plasma Pokemon. So this protects against Plasma Pokemon on non-EXs. Silver Bangle allows non-EX Pokemon to do more damage to EXs. So Plasma Pokemon and EXs, they're different things, but they both work very similarly against two things that are kind of taking the format by storm and taking over all the normal cards that we've seen in the past.
Yep, I honestly feel like this is the basically the overview, like the main focal point of this set. You can either go aggressive with Silver Bangle, or you can go more defensive with Silver Mirror, or you can even go more defensive and more setup with Reversal Trigger instead of going with more aggro Silver Bangle. And like we'll get to this later, but you also have G Booster and G Scope for Genesect EX. G Booster more offensive, G Scope a little bit more defensive and setting up multiple KOs. So it's a focal point of this set. You know, do you want to go offensive or do you want to go more set up your prizes and go a little bit more defensive? Something really to think about.
And of course, there are very different uses for Silver Mirror and Silver Bangle. It's not just will you play one or the other, in my opinion. There are, like, for example, very defensive decks with Suicune. There may be some stuff other good attackers like Bufflon or Drakion, or Sigilyph or Suicune, that would kind of wall the entire format protect against EXs and Plasma, which is a very good thing to do, of course.
Yeah, it's something that I'm testing right now, actually.
That's, very understandable.
It's a good combo. You just shut off EXs and like non-EXs that are Plasma.
Yeah, this,
and there's not many non-EXs that aren't Plasma that are good.
Yeah, there are a few, of course. There's Darkrai and Black Kyurem.
No. But like the Safeguard shuts those off.
Oh,
it attacks the Silver Mirror for like the Suicune.
Yeah, non-EXs and non-Plasma is a very rare thing to be good.
Yep. Like, what are they going to do? You strike the champion on you? It's not even Plasma, so, like the best they can do is, like, maybe attack you with, like, Hydreigon. Or maybe try to go Blastoise. But then again, those are very, like, not very efficient attackers.
Yeah. Of course, the main cards either revolve around EXs, Plasmas, or both. And something like this or Suicune could really wall either one. Depending, as for Silver Mirror in decks that aren't like that, for example, maybe something like you could fit a Silver Mirror into Blastoise or Plasma.
Oh yes, you can very easily play a Silver Mirror on let's see here. Oh yeah, you can play a Silver Mirror. Wait, does Silver Mirror block Plasma Pokemon?
Yes, it does. Okay,
you can just put a Silver Mirror on a Blastoise and they can't go Genesect on you.
Yeah.
So they can't just go catcher or kill. Yeah. But like then again, like the Silver Mirror Suicune thing is very situational, and like you can use Miss for information, discard it, or like most people will be playing 2 Tool Scrappers now, so that'll get rid of that. So it can be easily, you can get around it easily.
Yeah, Silver Mirror. Don't think Silver Mirror is just like a hard counter to Plasma. You just like, oh, I play this and I beat Plasma. No,
it just basically makes Plasma do things that they don't want to do. It forces them to, either play that Skylaw, if they'd even do, which most lists aren't playing that anymore, or be lucky enough to already have it in hand, which they probably won't.
The Tool Scrapper, of course, you mean?
Yeah, Tool Scrapper,
yeah. I'm not sure if I think using Silver Mirror in just like random decks is a good idea. For like Genesect and Plasma. Like, for example, in the Blastoise matchup, they a lot of the time take out the Blastoise, so they
so you can attach the Silver Mirror to your Blastoise, and then boom, Genesect and Plasma decks can only go for your EXs, which is huge. They can't get at your Blastoise unless if they play their Tool Scrapper.
Yeah, if you can keep your Blastoise alive, or whatever else you want.
Yes.
Something very crucial in the matchup that would be where Silver Mirror shines, but that is very situational, and it is, something like Tool Scrapper easily gets around that. So, again, not a hard counter. It's just something that could buy you a few turns, maybe. It could, in some games, it could kind of, just completely alter everything, but not something that's going to happen often. And
Nope.
I think Silvermere will mostly be saved for those decks that are designed around Silvermere, just like with Suicune and stuff like that.
Yes, but then again, it can be easily countered by like Heavy Tool Scrapper, meaning like 2.
Yeah, and maybe a Dowsing Machine. You never know
Yep.
how far people will go with these counter cards. Counters, if you...
Man, dude, we've been doing this for like an hour now.
Yeah. These are usually a lot longer when it's not scripted and not edited. And we're not even done yet. Next, we have our A-Spec cards. There's 2 A-Specs, but we're going to talk about those with their corresponding Pokemon. The first A-Spec, the lesser of all of them, is Master Ball.
Oh, this card is so bad. Basically, it's your A-Spec, and it just lets you search for a Pokemon.
Yep.
So basically, your advice is never play this card. You'd rather play Gold Potion than this.
Yeah, especially me. You know how I love my Gold Potions.
Yes.
It's almost kind of funny how Master Ball is almost, I want to say it's like the inspiration for A-Specs. Like in the video game, you only got one Master Ball, and
Yes.
it was this amazing thing you could, only use once. And it's like A-Specs. You can only use them once, but now that it's an A-Spec, it's horrible.
It's a very bad A-Spec.
Yeah,
so never play this, as if it's your only... I'd almost always rather you play like an extra Ultra Ball or something than this Master Ball.
Yeah. Or, even some decks prefer Ultra Ball over Master Ball anyway. Like, Plasma decks would want to discard the energy, or Darkrai decks would want to discard the energy. Mostly energy. Or maybe Executes or something. But Master Ball, no. Let's just move on.
Okay.
No,
Scoop Up Cyclone.
This card,
is so good. It's basically a Super Scoop Up automatic heads.
Put a Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your hand.
Honestly, all Blastoise decks will be playing this card now. Pretty much almost all of them now, because think about it this way. It's really hard for them to one-shot your Black Card Mix, so they'll, two-shot it. So, put, 90 or, 120 or 50 or whatever. And then you Super Cyclone it up, and then you play it back down, Delusion, whatever, and then attack again.
Yeah, this is always kind of...
Or Hydreigon, too. Hydreigon as well.
Well, with Hydreigon, you just use Max Potion. And again, with Blastoise, I'd say you just rather play Max Potion and get the consistency with Computer Search or Dowsing Machine. Because when, you Max Potion, you do lose, the one Lightning on your Black Kyurem or whatever. But it's... The Max Potion, I think, is a better card overall. It's more... for example, if you want to Max Potion a Blastoise, you don't want to Scoop Up Cyclone your Blastoise. And there's, of course, the card in the set, Jirachi EX, we'll be talking about later, which combos with this card. But we'll talk about that when we get to Jirachi. As for other decks, I just don't like this card, really. There are much better alternatives. And, yeah, there are a lot of combos that could be used with this card, but I'd rather just use other things, honestly.
Yes.
All right.
Do we move on to the G stuff?
Yeah, why don't we talk about Genesect EX?
Okay, Genesect EX is probably the most hyped Pokemon in the set.
Definitely the most hyped.
He has 170 HP, Fire Weakness, no resistance, 1 retreat, and with an ability Red Signal, which says when you attach a Plasma Energy from your hand to this Pokemon, you may switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with his or her active Pokemon, which is, basically a catcher. And then for 2 Grass and a Colorless, you have Megalo Cannon for 100 damage, and it does 20 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So it's basically a Darkrai, but with different active damage, bench damage ratio.
Up to 10 bench damage for 10 active damage, different numbers.
I honestly prefer Darkrai's 90-30 better because Megalo Cannon, you're two-shotting stuff with, you're doing 200. But Darkrai 90 plus 90 is 180 already. So, Megalo Cannon, that's an extra 20 damage over. So you'd rather that, a damage be applied somewhere else where it will actually be useful.
20 damage is much less impactful than the
30
damage.
Yeah, 30 is huge. 20 is not much.
The reason Darkrai is good is because of the bench damage it has.
Yeah, the 30 damage. But the 20 damage isn't that good.
120 active is powerful, but being able to spread those knockouts and counter something like N that would disrupt you later is why Darkrai is one of the best cards, one of the best decks for a long time in my opinion. Why it won 2 World Championships. Genesect's attack is more focused on straight damage, which Darkrai does not really need. It had the perfect number already. Don't broke what's not fixed, and that's what Megalo Cannon screams to me, honestly.
Yeah, trying to break what isn't fixed. I mean, I said that backwards. It's trying to fix what isn't broken, because basically Megalo Cannon's doing, you two-shot everything, but you're doing 20 damage over what you need, since every EX has at most 180 HP. So you'd rather that extra 20 damage be going to the bench Pokemon. Definitely. And Red Signal actually makes your deck more consistent, because you can drop your catcher line down to 3 or whatever. You already have those two grasses, or those grasses attached or whatever. Oh, also, you can use Red Signal on a bench Genesect EX. You can be powering that guy up attached to it with a Plasma and switch it out. Switch your opponent's active in a bench. So basically you can drop your catcher line down a little bit and add more consistency with more Chorus Machine, the supporter, a Tropius.
Yeah, of course Red Signal is a very powerful ability. Catcher is one of the best cards ever. So this ability being able to copy it and use it more times is good. But one of the sort of problems I see with this is that it has to be from the hand. You can't use a Chorus Machine and put it on Genesect to use a catcher. So if you want to use Genesect with Chorus Machine, Red Signal isn't going to be very helpful, because you're going to put that one.
It's not going to be helpful at all.
Yeah, but just for example, everyone has played Plasma here, obviously. So when you attach, sometimes you just can't hit a colored energy, and you're forced to attach Plasma to something. But for the most part, you're going to want to Chorus Machine those energy on, and Red Signal isn't going to be helpful then.
Nope.
But, yeah.
Oh, let's move on. Oh, yeah. Let's move on to...
The reason we're talking about Genesect is because of its two A-Spec cards. We have G-Scope and G-Booster.
Yep. Let's first talk about the Pokemon that actually makes Genesect work.
Oh, sure, that works too. We can do that.
Virizion EX, 170 HP, double fire weakness, and 20 resistance to water with 1 retreat cost. The ability is one of the things that really makes this Pokemon shine. Verdant Wind, which says each of your Pokemon that has any grass energy attached to it can't be affected by any special conditions. And then it says remove any special conditions affecting those Pokemon. So if you just drop a Virizion EX down and something's poisoned and it already has a grass energy on it, you just automatically remove it.
So of course, Verdant Wind, Hypnotoxic Laser is one of the best cards in the format, no doubt.
Yeah.
And, if you can just throw 4 cards out of your opponent's deck like that, that's just incredibly powerful, of course.
And then, basically, the attack for Grass and a Colorless, Emerald Slash for 50 damage. And you may search your deck for 2 Grass Energy cards and attach them to one of your bench Pokemon. Shuffle your deck afterwards, obviously. So basically what you would do, you would attach...
some abbreviation for shuffle your deck afterwards, like they did with Reveal It. We know that.
SYDA. Shuffle your deck afterwards, SYDA. Side up. Side up.
Anyway.
So, yeah. So, basically what you do, you'd attach a Plasma badge to it, attach a Grass, Chorus Machine, then Emerald Slash. Turn 1, Emerald Slash is basically what you try to do. But something that, players have started talking about is actually playing the Victini EX in the deck. So instead of having to have a Grass and a Colorless, you just attach that Colorless energy, or that Grass, or that Plasma, or whatever, and then you use that attack. And then you can just boom, automatically, very easily, turn 1, power up your Genesect, and then the Victini EX can be used to counter the mirror match, because for a Fire and 2 Colorless, you do 50 damage, plus 50 more for the defending Pokemon's in EX. So if they have a Virizion or a Genesect, that's 50 plus 50 is 100, times 2 for both of them having fire weakness is 200 damage for the knockout. So you could play maybe some, the grass and fire blend energies, to help with that.
Or Prism, basically the same thing.
Well, Prism. Prism would be a better option.
Yeah. And then there's, of course, the only problem with that is you can't play Victory Piece, one of the best cards, because you're playing G-Booster, possibly G-Scope.
I mean, you could, if the mirror match is very popular, but probably not. You're going to want to go with G-Booster or G-Scope.
Yeah.
Well, moving on to those, basically G-Booster is you attach it to basically your Genesect EX. Well, you can attach it to something else, but it won't do anything. So it says the Genesect EX this card is attached to can also use the attack on the card. You still need the necessary energies to use the attack. So G Booster, the attack for 2 colorless and 2 grass and a colorless, does 200 damage, basically like Black Ballista. And then you discard 2 energy attached to the Pokemon. And this attack's damage isn't affected by any effects on the defending Pokemon.
Yeah. Now this deck that does weak little hundreds and 50s and stuff like that, now just boom, G-Booster, blow up everything.
Yeah, but then there's also Tool Scrapper.
Yeah, but one of the amazing things about G-Booster is that it's a Team Plasma card, so Shadow Triad can get it back. That is honestly one of the reasons this card is so good. You know, use the Erase spec is just gone forever, but being able to get it back with Shadow Triad and G-Booster for all your knockouts, you're not going to do that every time. You're going to want to use Megalo Cannon and Emerald Slash to set up some knockouts as well.
Yep.
But G-Booster, with this Tool Scrapper,
yeah, and basically, this is the thing, offense or more defense and setup. G-Booster's aggro offense, but G-Scope, on the other hand, is a little bit more defensive and, setting up multiple knockouts.
Yeah,
so G-Scope basically is the same thing. You have it on Genesect EX. You still need the necessary energy. For 2 grass and a colorless, you basically just do 100 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon.
I like how it says bench instead of active. It's stupid proof for people who want to use G-Scope on the active instead of using Megalo Cannon.
Yeah. But, you could just play catcher instead, and then just do 120 to the bench. So, honestly, G-Booster's way better.
Yeah. G-Scope, while that is a very powerful thing to have, and I would play this in my deck probably if G-Booster didn't exist, but the fact is it does exist, and G-Scope is just probably the weaker option.
Yep, and it's really obsolete, because you can just either attach a Plasma or just play catcher, and there's your G-Scope effect. Plus, you get the extra 20 damage to the bench, which is huge.
Yeah, with Catcher and Red Signal to bring up bench Pokemon, we don't need something like G-Scope as well. Anyway, back to G-Booster.
And you also get the extra 20 damage to the bench effect.
Yeah, you're right. That is another thing about G-Scope. But anyway, G-Booster, 200 damage. With this deck, you don't have much energy acceleration. All you have is Colress Machines and Emerald Slash. Even some people don't even play the Colress Machines or Plasma Badges. They just go to slow 2 turns, turn to Emerald Slash, which doesn't work is a little slower, but it's more consistent. But
yeah, we need to start speeding this up because we're nearing the finish line. So. Okay, this next Pokemon is Jirachi EX.
Hold on. We're not done yet. We can take a little bit extra time. We'll try to speed it up a little bit though. Genesect Virizion is a good deck. It has a lot of. Could be a little slow with the manual energy attachments, but I definitely think it's going to be a.
I honestly feel like if you can't get the turn 2 120 to the bench, you might as well just be playing Plasma. Because Plasmas are more consistent and heavier hitting.
Yeah, but with the support with stuff like Verdant Wind and with less hard counters like Enhanced Hammer and Azelf and stuff, this deck is harder to counter, more of a defensive deck, but it is a lot slower. So yeah, let's move on to our next Pokemon, Jirachi EX.
Which has 90 HP.
For an EX, I must add, that is horrible, by the way.
Yeah, it breaks the record. It breaks Shaman EX's record.
And Victini and something else. No, never mind. Nothing else.
Yeah, so times 2 weakness to fire, 20 resistance, and 1 retreat. So his ability, Stellar Guidance, says, when you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may search your deck for a supporter card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, shuffle your deck afterwards. The attack we're not going to mention the attack because it's really bad.
Of course, with Level Ball and Ultra Ball, now turn into cards that can get you supporters.
Yep, so basically...
Starting with the Jirachi, it's just horrible. That's the worst starter ever, in my opinion. Also, even when it's down on the field, it's 2 free prizes. They can just catch it up and kill it.
You can scoop up Cyclone it.
Yeah. With an engine, you might want to play some kind of engine with Jirachi and scoop up Cyclone. But if you're just going to do that, you might just want to use Computer Search instead of the scoop up Cyclone to get your supporter. Jirachi EX.
I could honestly see it working maybe in a Plasma Clang deck, playing 2 Jirachi EX with Ultra Ball and Level Ball and stuff. So let's make some consistency. I honestly feel like people may just play one of it in some decks.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a card people are going to play. It's just not one I would play.
Yeah, me neither. It's just too weak. Another, if you play with something that basically denies them doing damage to it, like if it was in Plasma Cling, then I'd play it.
Yeah, that's one of the ways Draw GX could be good, but for now I don't think it's going to be a very good card.
Moving on.
Hang on.
Okay.
You want to say something else about this?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Next, we have Dialga EX.
Finally the Dialga Palkia are back, and better than ever.
No, they're not. They're worse. Like, a lot worse.
What? Oh, it's like a new Durant, though, dude.
No, Dialga G was, like, one of the best cards in its format, and then we have this.
Well, it's like a Durant. You can play it with, Porygon Z.
Attacks. Its first one is Reverse Edge. It does, for Psychic Vital Carlos, it does 50 damage, and you can flip a coin, and if heads, you put a card from your discard into your hand.
So basically a free dowsing machine.
Yeah, that is a very powerful attack, in my opinion. Be able to get back any card, that is a very interesting little attack there. But, of course, with the coin flip and the very weird energy cost, I don't think it's something you're going to revolve your deck around.
Nope. But the main attack, this is what's getting everyone stirred up. For 4 colorless energy, Fast Forward does 90 damage, and for each plasma energy attached to the Dialga EX, discard the top card of your opponent's deck. Now you could use this with Porygon Z and Max Potion, so you can go like turn 1 DCE double colorless machine, Fast Forward for 90, and then discard the top 2 of their deck, and you can have like Deoxys in play or whatever, and then like you can move off like the plasmas, and then just Max Potion. Or, whatever.
Yeah, where Durant was a very fast milling deck that was focused on doing fast the disruption before your opponent could have a chance to hurt you and take 6 prizes.
Yeah, but I feel like Dialga is actually, in a sense, better than Durant because, you can essentially have 2 win conditions, deck out and prizes, which is something Durant did not have.
Dialga can do damage, does 90 damage, which can allow Dialga to have some sort of form of disruption, because you can't fit any disruption into this deck, so you can knock out the Pokemon that has energy on it instead of just using the crushing hammers. But, of course, that is, honestly, I think this, and they also have Max Potion to heal your Pokemon, so you can deny more prizes than Durant.
Yes. And you can also play Porygon Z with Tornado CX and Thunder CX, so in case if your Dialga gets knocked out, then you can revert back to setting up maybe other attackers. You can kind of swap around, depending on how your opponent's setting up and how you're setting up in the matchup. You can either go for, milling a bit, or you could just go for straight up knockouts. I don't think like the milling will actually be a pure strategy. It will just be a way to disrupt. I don't feel like the deck out will be a core strategy. Maybe like play Tornado CX with Windfall. Then you play Deoxys EX. So, like, the 90 damage is the main thing, but the mill is just a little extra effect, to get rid of their catcher, laser, In
my opinion, if you're going to play something like Porygon Z, you just want to go straight Tornadus, keep Plasma Energy on there. Dialga EX, I think, will just get in the way, kind of large 2 or 3 Pokemon.
Maybe like late in the game, like it can be really good late in the game. You move it all off.
It isn't supposed to go to the late in the game. It's supposed to win in like the first 5 turns or something.
No, like I'm just saying, like if something happens and like your opponent's deck is starting to get thin and they need like certain cards to win the game, or like they're ahead or whatever, you can fast forward, get those crucial cards in the discard.
Since Durant has been rotated, I think this will take its place as the mill deck that we pretend is good, but it really isn't.
Yes.
I don't think I'll be playing it. I don't think many people are going to play it either, honestly.
And next up we have Palkia EX.
This guy is hilarious. I want to make this card so good. I really do, but it's just bad, and I don't think it's going to be good. Let's skip
actually, the card is actually not bad, because...
Let's skip the first attack and go to Dimensional Heal.
Yeah, it has 180 HP and double weakness to Dragon, no resistance, and 2 retreat.
By the way, Dialga is Dragon type for people who are confused about that and watching this as a podcast. Philadelphia. They're not water and metal. They're dragons.
Yeah, so 3 colorless, strafe. You do 50 damage and switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Basically like a strengthened up Kyogre EX's switch, whatever attack.
Splash turn.
Yeah, splash turn. And then for a grass, a water, and 2 colorless, you can use Dimension Heal for 80 damage, and you heal from this Pokemon 20 damage for each plasma energy attached to this Pokemon. Now, one combo you can do is you can play, this may sound really clunky, but you can play this deck with Cherrim.
That is exactly what I was thinking with this card.
So you can have, like some plasma, like have like 1 plasma or whatever, and then like have your grass, whatever. So you're healing like, 40, 60 damage, and then you can play your, Porygon Z. You can have like an Eviolite on your Palkia. So you're just trying to tank with the Palkia. Then when it's almost knocked out, you can move off your plasmas and start attacking with another Palkia.
Yeah, honestly, I think this is an awesome concept, and I really want to make this super tank Palkia deck good. Cherrim, Eviolites, Umbreons, maybe even. That's a little.
Umbreon's a little bit too far, I feel like.
But just look at this energy cost: grass, water, and then maybe even up to 4 plasma energy.
Well, actually, honestly, I feel like no, Umbreon's actually better than Cherrim because it just gives you 38 extra HP.
Well, the thing is, stuff that can do like 100 damage or something that doesn't, or even like a Blizzard burn that's not like that wouldn't one-shot you. But you can't heal off all that damage, and then they just knock you out the next turn.
Yeah, that's true. But the only problem is the water energy gets in the way. Because say you have a grass, a water, 2 colorless, that's healing 40. The grass energy, you can use Cherrim, just heal 20. So you're healing like 60. Or
yeah, and then there's just water energy.
Then you play Max Potion, or you can also play a bunch of potions. Potions and max potions. So
there's so many things that, like, if this one thing was slightly better, this would be a good card. Like, for example,
it actually is a good card.
It does 80 damage. That's horrible. That can't.
Well, the thing is, like, you make up with it for your tanking.
Yeah.
And Porygon Z, so they're close to killing that one Palkia. You shift everything off, and then you keep attacking.
Yeah, it's a very, very clunky deck, and in my opinion, I don't think it's going to be a good deck, but I think
Sam, I think this deck is perfect for you, though.
Yeah, this is the clunkiest, most hilarious.
Oh my god, dude, you can play Gold Potion.
Go, yes! I'm doing that.
Gold Potion, Max
Copyright.
Potion. Cherrim, Eviolites.
Yep. Copyright Sam 2013.
I want you, 2016.
Okay. Okay, we've talked about how stupid it is. We have one last EX, which we're just going to briefly cover. Kyurem EX. It has 180 HP. It is not a dragon. It's water type. It doesn't even have a full art. First attack is Outrage for 2 colorless. It does 30 damage, plus 10 more for each damage counter on Kyurem.
This attack is awesome. It's epic in so many ways.
Really?
Yes.
I don't think it's a very good attack. Like,
well,
there's so many ways you can just. First of all, you can just one-shot the Kyurem with a lot of stuff, and it's useless.
If you have an Eviolite on it, you can't. Aha.
Yeah, you kind of can. Like, for G-Booster, Blacklista,
Nope. Oh, crap, yes you can. Whatever. Well, you can go, honestly, I feel like Black Ballista is better than Kyurem, but Outrage is just that little thing that may help you out. And you only discard 2 instead of 3, so you can just use Energy Retrieval instead of Superior.
His second attack is Giga Frost for 2 water and 2 colorless. It does 150, and then you discard 2 waters attached to Kyurem.
So in a sense, I guess you can. It's like a more consistent Blastoise, I guess.
Sorta.
Sorta, maybe. I don't know. We can see.
Energy. There's no light.
We'll see if this becomes a good combo. Maybe, honestly, I could see a combo with Suicune, this Kyurem EX, and Kyurem from Noble Victories, because it got reprinted as a promo. So the Noble Victory ones is still legal to play with. So you can use Giga Frost or use 2 Aura Beams on an EX or whatever. Then you can use Glaciate after you've used 2 Giga Frost, set up 3 EXs, Glaciate, kill 3 EXs, and win the game.
Yeah, that's a little clunky, but Kyurem EX, it's kind of almost...
It's basically like a toolbox Blastoise, if you will. You know, if they have a bunch of EXs versus Ginsect Rizian, you're just like, okay, go Suicune.
Yeah. And
then if you're up against Plasma, you're just like, okay, go Gigafrost.
In my opinion, I think it's better to bite the bullet and take the less consistent Black Kyurem EX.
Yes.
For Kyurem EX, but
yes, it's just more raw power.
Yeah. But Kyurem does have a few things going for it. It has a better first attack than Slash. Something first turn you can do with Blastoise, that's something nice. Other than Peach.
Yes, you can play DCEs and Waters and stuff, so it's really, quite more consistent.
Yeah, basically that's everything. That's basically it. Unless anything you want to say about Kyurem?
No.
Alright. That's gonna be it. That's all the cards in the set. Hope you enjoyed this first episode of Pocket Monsters. I hope you enjoyed William. We're probably gonna have him for a few more episodes, probably for most of them.
Yep.
I swear to God, if this recording doesn't go through, I'm gonna stab someone. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Plasma Blast definitely gonna change the metagame. Final thoughts? Anything, William?
No, I just really like the set a lot.
Yeah. Interesting set, a lot of tech cards, a lot of new decks, a lot of fun decks, lots of stupid decks, lots of Cradilly, lots of everything. Fun little set. And, of course, with the new format, that's going to change things up, this new set's going to change things up. Starting Battle Royals, I think that will be very diverse. A lot of different decks, may even out to just a couple decks being the better ones, but I think for the start of Battle Royals, it's going to be a really fun few events. Yep. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Later. Want to say bye, William?
Bye.
Bye.